AI assistance is where it's at, especially voice assistance, using voice and AI to create little assistants. This simple assistant consists of a single web form with a single record button, and it accepts a voice message, and based on the voice instruction, it either generates a quote, it generates an invoice, or it adds a task to a to-do list. So let's see this working. Generate an invoice for John Peter Klump for the service of doing 5 Zapier workflows for the amount of 3,000 Rand and 60 cents. Okay, so we just hit the submit, and the form has been submitted. So let's go across to our draft email, and there it is. There's the email, the draft email. Let me just get that so that you can see it. All right, so there's the draft email, and this is the link to Google Drive. And there is the invoice, and I'm just using a template. So there's today's date, the name, and there's the amount. It's calculated tax, and it has a total. And you can also download it, desktop. That has been attached as a PDF. So this little tutorial is going to show you the workflow for generating this invoice. There will be 2 follow-up shorter videos that will show you how to do the quote, which is actually it's almost identical to the invoice, and adding the task to a to-do list. So let's get going. So we're going to be creating a little simple assistant using Zapier. And this is the flow. We're going to start with a trigger, and we're going to use JotForms for that. The trigger then, once a new submission is received, it triggers a transcript with action with the Whisper, which then goes to ChatGPT, and depending on the task that is given in the voice note, it'll either go into an invoice or a quote or a to-do list. And the invoice flow uses Google Drive, Google Docs, and Gmail. And the quote uses Google Drive, Google Docs. It will send a WhatsApp notice and also an email. The task goes through to Trello and just adds a task in a Trello board. So what you will need is a JotForm account, and we will just use the free account. You need a Zapier account, and you will need a pro account for this because we are going to be using quite a few Zaps. You need an OpenAI account with OpenAI access, and you would need to have some credit in your account in order to do this. We will be querying the OpenAI. And then on the Google side, you will need Workspace, and just a free account is fine. With Google Drive, Google Docs, you'll need to create an invoice template, and there is one linked in the comments that you can use, as well as the quotation. And you will need a Gmail account, a Trello account, the free version is also fine, and a WhatsApp number. Okay, so let's hop over and start at JotForm. So just create an account with JotForm, and we're using the free version. Once you're in, you just go to create form, top right corner, and the process is very, very simple. So we start with a blank and a classic form. All right, and this is our form interface. Very, very simple. We want to add a form element here on the right and go straight to the widgets and search for a widget, and we're going to search for recording. And there's the voice recorder, and we just drag it onto our form. And just give the label, just type something like record instructions. And in this widget settings, you can here set a time limit for recording, 60 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever, it's fine. Update widget. The properties, you don't really have to change anything here. So that's all fine. And that's basically all the form that we're going to use. In terms of settings, the form is enabled, so that's all fine. You might, on the integration side here, once you've set up your Zapier side, you want to integrate your Zapier account from here. That just makes things work a little bit better. Publishing, it's just these settings you leave the same. Or if you have problems with the download, come and change it here to submit and edit. But this should work. That's your link for the form, so you can just copy that link. One thing that you should do before you start using this form is you need to make sure, so you go to make sure that your downloads are available to be downloaded without having to log in. And I'll explain the reason for that a little bit later, but you just go into your account and you go to security and you untick this require login to view upload files. And if that is ticked, then the Zapier cannot access that file when it runs its query. So that needs to be unticked. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's basically our form set up. So now let's go across to Zapier, zapier.com. And once you've created an account, you just log into your dashboard. And here I have the prototype of the app set up, which is working. But what I'm going to do is start from scratch. So off we go to create Zap. Okay, we're creating a new Zap. This is a new feature with Zapier that you can actually create a Zap using natural language, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do it the long form. So let's just name our Zap quickly, and we'll call this Voice Assistant Tutorial. And we start with trigger. So all you do is you just search for JotForms. And there it is, you select JotForm. And the event we're looking for is a new submission. That's the event. So now we're going to set up our account. Now this is already done. It'll just prompt you to connect your JotForm account using the login method that you've used. And once that's all, this green tick here means that it is active. So once you've connected your JotForm account, that will be ticked green, and then you go to continue. And the trigger, there's the form. Okay, so the form that you've created will be available in your results. So you just select that as the form, and we test the trigger. And what you would need to have done is actually do a submission. So you would actually do a recording. And let's actually do that quickly. So there's the form. So you would just need to record an instruction and submit it before you go into doing your Zap test. So here are the submissions that have been already submitted off my form, and you just continue with the selected record, and that's fine. So then the next step is that you're wanting to send. So what happens in the previous step is the submission is a WAV file, and you've told Zapier where to find that WAV file of that submission. So now we want to send that WAV file to GPT Whisper. This is OpenAI's voice to text engine, and it's very, very, very good. And the event we're wanting to do is convert. And we want to create a transcript. So again, you would need to set up your account, and in order to do that, you need a API key from GPT. You would need to hop over to openai.com, and if you don't have a account, you would need to set one up, and you can just use your Google login or email, whatever you want. So we're not going into the chat environment. We want to go into the API. You would click there, and you would then select the API here. Now I am already logged in. So once you've logged into your environment, you then go across here to API keys. And here you can see I've already got an API key, but you would just select create a new secret key. You would name it and create your secret key. So you would want to copy this. So this key will be deleted before the end of the video. So, but that's how you get your keys. So back to Zapier. So you insert that key into your settings here, and then you again will have a green tick once it's sorted and once it's connected. Click continue, and we're now going to the action. So as you can see, it's looking for a file, and you click the insert data, and here you have from the previous step the new submission, and you wanting to use this this field answer record. So that's the WAV file that will be downloaded. But what you need to do in order for this to work is you need to put the URL of JotForm in first. So this little section here, that bit without the /. So you type that in, and then you select that, and that now will go and get that file for download. And because we unticked the login requirement to download, it will be able to download the file. You don't need to put in a prompt. Response format is text, and you could leave this as default to English, so you can leave that as it is as well. Now if you run a test, okay, so if you do continue, it goes to the test step, but if you test it now, you see the URL is wrong because that's what you've typed in, and then it's going to look, so that will not resolve, so the test won't work. Towards the end of the video, I will show you a way of testing this, but we're going to just test this step now. Okay, we just skip the test. All right, and now we want to do our next action. We want to actually get a date fallback, and the reason why we're wanting a date to fall back to is if there is no date given in the instruction, we want to use this. So we use the Zapier formatter, and we then choose date as the event. Continue, and then the action. we want to format a date. So the input, really all we need to do here is we're going to use now. Now we want to format it to, so we're using the UK standard or the South African standard, which is day, month, year. So we'll use that format. The time zone, we're in Johannesburg, so there we go. Okay, so we continue. And let's just run this test. And it's the 22nd of the, so that's all fine. So now we're going to jump into our next step. Find out what the instruction is. Is the instruction to create an invoice? Is it to create a quote? Or is it to do a task? So again, we're going to use GPT for this. GPT, so we're using ChatGPT. And the event is we're going to have a conversation. Again, the account, it will have picked it up from the previous. Continue. Okay, so the action. All right, so this is what's going to go into what's going to be sent to GPT, and that would be the transcript from that. So we select that, and that is value there. So the content is what we're going to be sending to GPT. We're going to be using 3.5 Turbo for this task. That's fine, but if you wanted to change your model, you can do so. So your memory key we don't have to do, the image we don't have to do, leave all this the same. All right, and here is where you put in the prompt, and I'll give you that prompt now. Tokens, leave that. Temperature, we want a pretty accurate output here, so we want to have a 0.5 temperature, which, so a temperature of 1 is quite creative, and the lower the value here is the less creative, and we're wanting a pretty exact value, so we put that at 0.5, and that you can leave. So let's look at the prompt now. This prompt document is available in the comments below. So this is the prompt to determine the flow. All right, so the prompt is: the user message contains text from a transcription of an audio recording. Your task is to classify the recording as an instruction to create one of the following: an invoice, a job code, a task, or a to-do list. And then your response must be only invoice, quote, or to-do, and do not include any other information in the response. And if you're unable to decide, assume it is an invoice. That's kind of a fallback. So that's our prompt. So we're just going to copy it, and we just paste it in here. All right. So let's continue. And if we test this, let's just test, we should get an error. Or no, it should get the default value, because there is no transcript here, then it goes defaults to invoice. So I'm actually going to show how we can use a test here. I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back to you. So as I was saying, how can we test this while we're building it? So if we go back to step 2, and we come to this action, what we will do is we will just put a link here to a WAV file that is available on my server. So that, and we're going to be testing the invoice flow. So we'll put that in there. And once we're ready to publish this, we will set that back to get the live feed from the form. So if we test this step now, we should get a transcript. So it's doing its thing. All right, and there it is. So please create an invoice for the client Boyd Trollope for the service of cleaning the driveway and trimming the hedge. The amount is 300 Rand and 20 cents. Okay, so we now know that that works. So we just run through the tests again. Test this. This is just for making sure everything is working. So now we're at the conversation step. We've put in our prompt, and again we should get invoice, but that's just because it is an invoice transcript. So there we go, there we've got the invoice. All right, so this is all up and running. This is the completed Zap that we are building. So we've just done this. Now we want to do paths. So let's go back to our TUT, and we're going to add, and we select path, and it automatically populates 2 paths, and we will just add a third one. So we've got our 3 paths set up. So we're kicking off on the first one, and we're going to rename this, and we're going to call this invoice. Invoice path, quote path, and this is the to do. Just call it the task path. Alrighty, so let's go to the path rules. So it's a custom rule, only if the conversation, so that's the last step, and we want the reply. So there's the reply. So if that field is text exactly matches, and here we want to input invoice. Okay, and that's fine. Don't have to worry about any of the others. So we've tested it, and yes, it will run down this path. Okay, so we can close that. Now we do our action, and our action is another conversation with the GPT. And with this conversation, we want to actually extract the data that's in the transcript. So this action again, we're going to search for ChatGPT. All right, and we're going to have a conversation again. The account is set up, and the action again, the input is the content from the transcript. We're using the same model. We don't have to worry about that. Don't worry about it. And this prompt we're going to put in now. We want a little bit more flexibility, so we'll use 0.7 as our temperature. And we're now going to get our prompt. So this is our prompt. Okay, so we are assigning a role, and we're saying you are a highly qualified transcript editor, and then there's the task telling you to analyze the text and form the directives below. And here are the directives or the instructions. And you will output the transcript as label value pairs and exclude everything else. And then the prompt basically goes into detail as to how it should extract. It says here, if no date, we use the date variable we created earlier. So that is a placeholder that we would need to add it in. I'll show you how to do that. And it talks a little bit more about the actual process. And here are the labels that we're going to be using: date, client name, service provided, amount, tax. And here we're saying to it how to calculate the tax and the total invoice. Then we're giving it specifics. These are just fine-tuning instructions. All spelling is British English, professional. And here, this is a very key point. We wanted to output it in a structured format. And this ensures that the following steps are much cleaner. The GPT or the little app will be less likely to create an error if you're giving it structured. And we're going to use JSON. This little thing here is just to tell it not to use markup, just to give the output in clean JSON. And this is what a technique called emotion prompting. And basically we are priming the LLM to do its best work. And this has been scientifically or been proven in test cases to actually work. There is a article on this on my website. I will put the link in the comments below about this. Then we're giving it context. Context also helps get a better answer. And then we give it examples. And this is what's called few shot prompting, giving it examples as to how to format. And then notes is just a kind of a reminder. So this is our prompt. As I said, the document will be linked. So we copy that. We go back and we just paste that here. Okay, so now we can continue. And here we want to test this step. Okay, so all looks good. And there's the output. See, it's in JSON and it's formatted beautifully. So this is all working fantastically. So what we do next, okay, now we want to actually put that data into code form that will be used further down. So we add a step, and we're going to search for, there it is, right at the top, code by Zapier. And you can either run JavaScript or Python. I'm going to use JavaScript. Now, this is actually where you would put the code in. I have done JavaScript, but it's so long ago that I don't remember. So get AI to create your code. So I've created this prompt that works. And I did a bit of testing to get this right. And this is another reason why, because it's in JSON format, the prompt is actually very easier. It's a lot easier to formulate. Here you're saying, okay, the variable that comes back that is being inputted contains data in JSON format, and just extract those values from the JSON and place them into variables and ensure the code will catch possible errors. So this simple prompt will generate our code. It all looks, you can adjust it if you want, but this should work. You just use var response as input, and then the conversation output. So that's the reply we're wanting to use. And we continue. All right, now we can test this step. Okay, there we go. So there's the client name in a variable, there's the amount, there's the tax, and there's the invoice total. So it's done it fantastically. So we can now continue. So we actually want to format the numbers. So we want to format the amount, the tax, and the invoice total. So we use one of Zapier's built-in actions. It's a format. And what are we going to format? We're going to format a number. Continue. The value we're going to format is currency. We're going to format currency. Now the input, and we'll start with the amount. The currency, we are South African Rand. So there it is. We choose the currency. The English is going to use British English. Okay. And the currency format, we use commas for our thousands, so that we can use. All right. So we've formatted the amount, and we'll test the step. And there it's given us the format of 300 Rand and 20 cents. So we know, that works. So we soldier on, and all we do really is we just duplicate. And this one we will rename tax. Okay. So it's pretty much, set up numbers, but except the action. We don't want the amount. We delete that, and we want to, from the JavaScript, we want the tax. These other values will be the same. And retest. And there we go, 45 Rand. Okay, so we can then just duplicate this one again. All right, so again, all we got to change here, JavaScript, and we're wanting our invoice total value. And we'll test this. And there it is. Okay, so we are making good progress. So what is our next? All right, so now we're going to create an invoice from the template. So you would need to have the template available in your drive, in the root of your drive. So we're adding an action, and this is Google Docs, and we are creating a document from template. Continue. Okay, so again, your account is your Google account, and here you would just use your Gmail and to log in as you would with Google. And now the action. So here we would get the templates from your drive, and we wanting to use the invoice template. Okay, so new document. Now we can use the values that we've got. So we call this invoice. From the JavaScript, we get the client name. We're going to have it on a date, and there's the date. And here it's a good idea to have an ID, and we can run the JavaScript ID because that will always be unique. Okay, so that's the document name. Here you would choose where you want to store your new document. So sharing, we want editor. All right. So now we would want to. So it's picked up the fields in the template that we need to fill in. So the invoice date, from the JavaScript, we select the date. Client name, from the JavaScript, client name. Service item, from the JavaScript, we want the there it is. Sorry, it was right at the bottom. So service is available. Service amount. Now we go to the formatted. So the amount is that formatted output. The tax is the formatted tax. The output from the format tax, and the invoice total is the output from the formatted total. Okay. So if we continue, so test the step. Okay, so it's done it. Okay, so there it is. So it actually put it in the correct. So there's the invoice that was generated now. We didn't put the date. This conversation here. If no date is specified, we need to give it the date from that very first step we did where we generated a date. Right up here. So we're giving it that date. And if we retest this now, which we have to in order to get the date further down. So there's the date. But this now, okay, so that date should be fine now. And we retest this. And there you are, the date is correct. Okay, so we know that that is now working. So our final step is to generate a draft in Gmail. So we add an action and we're looking for Gmail. And we're wanting to create a draft. And the account is the same one. And the action is similar. So the subject is, all right, so that's our subject. And who we're sending it to. This is a draft email, so it doesn't really matter. CC if you want, BCC from body type plain text, and here we can enter our body. Okay, so this is the body. So it's just almost a repeat of what we've done for the document, and this is really just to test. And then this is this link. So from create document, one of the values here is the embed link. So that is, if you click the link in the email, it goes to the document. Attachment. Okay, this again, we can go to the document, and the attachment you want to use here is the PDF. So export links application PDF, that's the link you want. We continue. I have my drafts open. So if we run this test, all right, it's done it. Refresh. And there it is. There's the draft email. That should open the document on Google Docs. That's correct. And that is the download link. And there it is, all looking good. That's it. I'm going to leave this one there. We've done a flow, and it's all working. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.